Why don't you each tell me a remembrance you have of your father?
My father.
I remember my father. He used to drink a lot on a weekend, not during the week. He used to drink on the weekend, and sometimes he didn't come home over the weekend. Friday he got paid, and then sometimes we didn't see him till Sunday. But when he didn't come home, it was our job to go from bar room to bar room to see if we could find him to bring him home. And usually Terry would stand on the sidewalk and I'd poke my head in the door, and got to the point where the bartenders would know me already and they'd say, no, he's not here. So we'd go to another one and they'd say, you just missed him. He was here, but he's gone. And so we'd go walk. And then when we found him down at any bar, he'd sit us on the bar stool and give us peanuts and a soda, so we would be quiet while he drank and did whatever, gambled or whatever he did. And then when we finally got him to walk home, we used to pick all the alleys to walk home in because he'd make us goose step. We'd goose step all the way home.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got home, my mother used to carry on. Oh my goodness, she used to holler and holler and holler at him all the time. They always just say to her, Mom, let him go till he's sober. He don't know what you're yelling at him for. But then he'd get angry, and if there was, the one time I remember there was a ham on the table, and he picked it up and he threw it against the wall and had a nice greasy smear on the wall. But normally he would just go upstairs and and I always had to go with him. Go upstairs and we'd go to bed. He'd sleep and I'd sleep. We'd take a nap, and then when he'd get up, he was fine. Then I don't remember what happened after that, whether they talked or they didn't talk, or I don't know.
Yeah.
How old were you both when this occurred?
I was maybe 6, 7. Oh.
Our father, basically he went on a Friday night after payday. Now he was a young man at the time, he was no old drunkard, and beer cost like 5 cents a glass. So of course you drank a lot of glasses, and he had friends that were. And one time my mother went down to meet him for payday. But he worked for Arbogast and Bastion in the kill department. It wasn't a very pleasant job, but she went to one gate because they were all coming out there. But he went out the other gate because he knew she would be waiting. So I think that's a night she was very upset.
So it sounds like your father was quite a social person.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, he was. He was a very nice man, except when he got angry. If he was angry, if you did something wrong, he would just look at you. And you knew that was the end of it. And if you didn't, he would hit with his belt.
You got
and
spanked
didn't matter
on your rear end,
the belt
not on your
he
head.
had, whether it was a buckle, whatever, you got it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you knew what you did wrong. You knew he wasn't doing it for nothing.
He bought, Mr. Holler that she's talking about, he had the store at 6th and Whitehall, and he retired. He gave up the store, and so my father rented the store from him, and that's when my pop stopped drinking then. He didn't go anywhere unless my mom went along, and unless he went to the warehouse to buy whatever he did. But neither one of us drove, so he had to take a bus over on Union Boulevard and take the bus back home. But he stopped drinking once he bought the store. And we had the store for, I don't know how many years, but a lot of times. It was down the hill. And it wasn't bad going to work at 5:30 in the morning. You had to go down the hill. But coming home at 7 at night, coming up those hills, we were dying till you got home, And then I think it got too much for Pop, too, because he finally, the store at 9th and Washington, right across from the school, the Washington school, it was Engler's, and they decided to sell their store, so my father bought it, and he could buy the house with it. And then there were 4 garages attached to the house. We didn't have a car, but they rented those out. And so we moved up there, which was so nice. We lived there, and on the first floor was the kitchen and a bathroom, and upstairs then was the living room and the bedrooms. And then
What year was this?
3rd floor. That was when I was in junior high. we moved there, and then you didn't have to go anywhere. That was the nice part, but the bad part was you'd sit down for dinner and somebody always forgot a pack of cigarettes or a quart of milk or a loaf of bread until they come knocking at the kitchen door, and you'd have to go get them there, whatever. But it was much nicer and easier for them then. And he, like I say, my pop stopped drinking. We didn't have to go anywhere anymore looking for him. It was really, really
He already
nice.
stopped on Cedar Street, though, too, because then he was taking the bus home when we were on Cedar Street. It was
Yeah, but
more
towards
rare.
the end.
Yeah, more
But he
than,
already had the store.
even before
No,
he
I
stopped
don't
on
think so.
Cedar, because we never went looking for him
I did.
on Cedar Street.
Oh, yes, I did.
Where would you have gone? Only up the corners. The only bar him around.
Down the ward. I used to walk down,
Oh.
and then I used to stay with Joe, Margaret's brother. Used to visit with him for a while, and then I'd walk back home.
I don't know who Margaret's brother.
Oh, yeah. He didn't stop drinking until he bought the store at 9th and Washington. Because he was remember when we were on Cedar Street and he went over to Grimm's because we didn't have a phone?
Mm-hmm.
And he went over and he told my mom, they came over and told my mom that they had a delivery or something for her, she should come over. And when she went over there was my father standing there drunker than a coot.
I
And
don't
she was
remember.
so embarrassed. Oh, my God.
Oh.
She was so embarrassed.
But basically, he only drank beer.
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
drink booze, but
So you
Couldn't
drank
afford them.
because all his friends at the
Yeah.
at the
Yeah,
At
right. The guys he
the-
hung around with
Yeah.
all did that, and so that's why he did it too.
yeah, he didn't bowl or play baseball or nothing. This was
No.
just his outlet. So
No, and then when, like I say, when he got away from the gang, that's when he stopped drinking.
One thing you described your dad
Mhm.
and his personality a little bit. Describe your mom's personality a little bit.
Well.
And your favorite remembrance of her.
yeah, and she always had an apron on for one thing. She was a good cleaner. Oh,
Cleaner and a cook,
oh,
and she was mellow personality.
mm-hmm.
She didn't really scream or yell or carry on. She was more of a threatener. If she's anything like, if you don't stop, in German. But
Tell us, what did it sound like?
Yeah.
What did it sound like? Tell us what they said to you in German.
Weißt du, pass auf.
Yeah,
Und tu das nicht mehr. Es ist genug.
he saw die Foto.
What's that
Oh,
mean?
yeah. She used to say that too. He's so dein Foda. That's enough. No more.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't behave, I'm going to tell your father.
And that was
And
enough
by the
of
time my
fun.
father came home, she forgot about it.
Most times, yeah. No, she was a pleasant person. Had a lot of lady friends too.
Yeah.